yours. So
No problem.
thank you. What does bottomed out mean from having breast implants in? Bottoming out. Right.
Good question.
Great question. Bottoming out, little known fact, is not just the result of breast implants. Bottoming out can happen in other contexts too. So what is bottoming out? Bottoming out is where you have excessive lower pole length of your breasts, clear as mud, right? Okay, think about your breast kind of like a globe, like a globe of the earth. And it on the earth we'd call the top bit the northern hemisphere and the bottom bit the southern hemisphere. On a breast we call it the upper pole and the lower pole, but it's still the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. The equator, what is the pole? What is the equator for this? The equator is where is the nipple, and the nipple should be kind of centered on that sort of perfect globe of breast, ideally. Now, when there is bottoming out means that the lower pole has elongated so much that you have got more under boob than upper boob. And so this can happen if you've got a breast implant that's just sort of hanging and pulling further and further down. You were seeing that better in that camera actually that time. So pulling further and further down. If you've got a heavy breast implant, if maybe it hasn't been supported so well, more common in smooth than textured implants. It's little talked about. There are several advantages to using smoother implants, but that's one disadvantage of using smooth implants. So that's what bottoming out is. Much more likely in large implants rather than low volume small implants, just because they're heavier. More likely in a patient who's had massive weight loss because their tissues are less supportive. A bit more likely probably in implants that are placed above the muscle rather than below the muscle, because below the muscle itself kind of acts like a belt, kind of gripping the implant. That only works to an extent. When the implant kind of slips away from that belt, then the muscle does no good at all. There's my friend Janji.
I know, just waved at Janji.
Janji, ciao
Hey,
Janji. Miss you, be good to see you guys again. Janji is my friend from like way back when I used to go to Italy a lot when I was a child. Anyway.
So that's bottoming out.
Bottoming out. Bottoming out can also happen, I must say this.
That's okay, but we need to be quick.
Okay, after breast reduction. Funnily enough, breast reduction, when I was mentioning earlier, there is a pedicle. When we do a breast reduction, we use a pedicle for the nipple. The pedicle can be designed in many ways. It can come from above, it can come from the side, it can come from the inside, it can come from below. And bottoming out is classically a consequence of a big, heavy, lower, so-called inferior pedicle, because that pedicle itself can just sort of put weight on the sensitive skin of the underside of the breast. It's kind of like a water hammer. If you ever wear one of these kind of smartwatches and you see how many steps you do a day, if you do 15, 20, 1,000 steps, that's 15, 20,000 water hammers pushing the underboob down day after day. And so if that pedicle itself is heavy, then a water hammer is this kind of hammer that you can use, which is, it's not like a hammer, it's this cylinder with a column in it, and if you just push down, the column inside shoots down and it can just sort of hammer downward. I don't know. Do I look like a builder?
What are you talking about?
It's a water hammer. I'm going to go and Google.
That, a water balloon? Is it more like a water balloon?
No, water hammer.
Like...
I'm going to stand by this.
Okay.
I want to go and look up what water hammers are used for now, because it's the obvious
find
question.
an analogy that works a bit better than a water hammer.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me know if you know what a water hammer is.
Anyone who knows what a water hammer is, prize for the first person who gets it right. Donated by Mrs. UB.
Oi.
Is that it for live questions?